to another weekly recipe testing vlog. Today is Wednesday. I keep thinking it's Thursday, but I'm glad it's Wednesday because I still have a lot to do. And honestly, Monday I baked something, I can't remember. Oh, I baked something last week. I baked milk buns again and I showed that last week, so I felt like I didn't need to video that again. And then yesterday I was just so exhausted. I just like sat on the couch all day and had myself like an admin day and cleaned the apartment and did that kind of stuff. I told myself I was gonna edit the vlog from last week, but I did not get a single minute of editing done, so hopefully I'll be able to spend some time doing that today. But today I'm working on some fun recipes. I am working on a saffron monkey pull-apart bread, which I actually just, I was gonna take the bowl and show it to you guys, but I'll just show with the camera in a second. But the dough looks really good. I wanted to add a little bit less flour this time than I usually add to doughs because I want them to be like just so soft and pillowy. When you're making a yeasted dough, it's so easy to want to add more flour because it takes a while for the machine to actually or for all the flour or all the gluten to develop, and the more gluten that develops, the tackier and firmer the dough gets. So even if the dough looks pretty loose in the beginning, it can end up being way more solid towards the end. So that's exactly what happened. So I just added 3.5 cups of flour, actually 3 3/4 cup, and it looks really good. I'm so excited for this recipe. And I know monkey bread is usually baked in a bundt pan, but I'm gonna show you guys the one I have. This is the only one I have, and it just has a little bit too many grooves for me to really wanna, I just don't feel like it's gonna come out right, and I also don't wanna risk it not coming out because that's the worst thing about that bundt pan, is it can be kind of, things just tend to get really stuck in those grooves. So I decided I'm gonna bake it in a cast iron skillet, and that's also great because I feel like that's something more people have. A lot of people do have bundt pans, but not, I feel like more people have skillets, if that makes sense. But I'm so psyched about this dough. I'm just gonna grab a little piece. Look at how beautiful and yellow that is. Saffron is obviously used in a lot of different cuisines, but it's used a lot in Swedish baking, especially around the holidays. So we have this holiday called, you probably heard about it, Sankta Lucia or Lucia. And it's on December 14th or 13th. And it's on December 14th or 13th. Why am I not remembering? But you basically have these little, usually they're rolled up into little knots with raisins. And those are good, but I find them kind of boring and they're not that sweet. So last year I developed like almost like a cinnamon roll cake, but with this. So this year I thought it'd be fun to do monkey bread, and I've been trying to think about how to really assemble it. So I think I am gonna dip the little pieces in butter, and I'm gonna add, I wanted it to be like vanilla flavored, but it's kind of hard to get vanilla into sugar without it getting like kind of a weird texture because it's wet. But I actually do have some vanilla bean flakes, which obviously not everybody has. But I think I'm gonna add it just for the sake of the video, and if you don't have that at home, then that's totally fine. And then actually right now, I think while the dough is proofing, because it just finished kneading, I was waiting for it to finish kneading to start the vlog. I work on a toskakaka. I've made this a bunch before, but this time it's like, usually, or the ones I made before are with nuts, and this time I'm gonna make a more classic version with coconut. So it's basically gonna be, so there's two different types of toskakakas in Sweden. So there's a vanilla cake with the caramelized nuts, like hazelnuts and almonds and whatnot. And then there's a classic brownie and coconut one. So this time I'm only using coconut. So you basically make like almost like a kladdkaka, like a really gooey chocolate brownie cake thing. And then you make a little mixture on the stove with butter, flour, milk, what else? Corn syrup, very important. In Sweden we use just what's called sirap, and it's a little bit different than corn syrup. I can't remember exactly what it is. I should know this, but yeah, it's a little bit different. But obviously here in the US you can't really get it unless you're going to like the Swedish candy store, Bonbon, and there I think it's probably like $50 a bottle, which is just absurd. And it's not easily, like, it's not easy for just someone at home to get it. So I'm using regular corn syrup, which is fine. And then you basically boil it on the stove for a little bit, and then you mix in all the coconut, and then you add it to the chocolate cake. And it's kind of like 7-layer bar-ish, just only 2 layers. So I'm excited. I think it's gonna turn out really well. I've been going back and forth between using the computer and my book, but I just find it truly so much easier to just have the book and not have it to like have my computer right by me when I'm cooking, and so that I can easily just scribble down notes. I just have to be better about writing things down neater and writing things down more in detail, because I tend to just write like a word or something super scribbly, and then it's hard for me to really remember what it is I was trying to write. I'm gonna set the dough aside to proof, and I'm gonna start on the toastkakeoke. Here's the dough. You can see how like come together it is and how yellow. Hopefully, I don't know if it translates into the camera because I have all these other lights here, but it's super yellow. I'm so excited because I feel like I use vanilla bean paste for literally every recipe, but the ones at the regular store are so expensive, and you only get a little jar, and they have this at Costco for I think $22, but this is massive. And keep in mind, like, usually one of the regular grocery stores like this small and also costs $22. So if you have a Costco nearby, I would definitely recommend grabbing some vanilla bean paste. Vanilla extract is fine, but vanilla bean paste makes like a big difference in your baked goods. I just tasted it, and it doesn't taste as sweet as I was expecting it to, or as I necessarily wanted to. And I was supposed to add 200 grams of sugar, but now I'm wondering if I maybe added 100. But I don't want to add a whole other half cup if I did add 200. So I usually don't mess up like this. I usually am pretty good at remembering like what I added or adding the right stuff, but maybe I might just add another like quarter cup just in case. One of my least favorite things, actually an exaggeration, but something I really don't enjoy doing is shape or fitting parchment paper to a square pan. I'm usually too lazy to actually cut it, but I think I'm gonna have to. Or I might just press it in. Okay, so I'm working on the kind of like coconut layer, and something doesn't really feel right. I felt like I added a little bit too much flour and almost turned it into like a roux instead. So I think I'm gonna have to make it again. Let me show you. So this is what it looks like. Not ideal. It's like, well, it was a roux, and now I turned the heat off, and now it's just like a clumpy mess. So definitely gonna have to do it again. Making it again, and it looks a lot better. I didn't add any flour this time. Okay, now I'm moving on to assembling the saffron monkey bread. The coconut and chocolate cake just came out of the oven, and it looks so good. I had to bake it for a little bit longer than I wanted it to, but that's because my oven is being a little weird. I'm actually having someone to come look at it today. I think it's running like 25 degrees below temperature, which is really weird because it's a brand new oven and it's electric. And I was like, why is this taking so much longer to bake? This was, we were making cookies like last week, and then I took the temperature and it was way off. So hopefully that'll be fixed quickly. And with this saffron monkey bread, oh my god, it rose so nicely. It smells yeasty. Hopefully it didn't overproof. I'm gonna, I think the plan is to cut them into a bunch of little pieces, obviously, which is what you do with monkey bread. Shake them in about a bag of sugar, and then I'm gonna assemble them in the skillet, make a little sugar syrup, sugar butter and vanilla syrup. That's how I'm gonna get the vanilla in there, and then pour it all over. And yeah, I guess we'll see how it turns out. I do kind of wish we had a bump pan, but I think this is still gonna be really pretty. I'm not entirely sure how many pieces I'm gonna get, but I think I'm gonna, like, how many pieces do you need? I think I'm just gonna roll it out and then we'll see. Okay, my camera's gonna die, so I'm gonna finish assembling this and then hopefully I'll get to show you adding on the sugar syrup later. Here is the monkey bread. So far, it's definitely risen. Now I'm making the sugar and the butter syrup or whatever, topping, glaze, whatever you wanna call it, and we're gonna pour it over. And it's gonna be delicious. And I definitely added a lot of vanilla bean paste, so you don't have to do that. You can add extract, obviously, but would recommend. Okay, here is the syrup. It's literally just butter, the leftover sugar from dipping these, and then salt and vanilla. Whoa. What? I don't know if I'm gonna be able to add it all. I might have to reduce it in the recipe because this is a lot. I think there's also not a lot of holes like in the between them, I guess. I'm gonna try to like move some of them around a little. Added the rest and we're just gonna see how it goes. I'm a little bit nervous it's gonna overflow, but I think I'm gonna put some tin foil on the bottom just in case it drips. But this looks crazy. Okay, so I didn't end up putting a sheet underneath the monkey bread. Oh my god. The fire alarm is definitely gonna go off again. But look at that. This looks crazy, and I'm so glad it didn't like flow over. It actually looks perfect. Okay, it really doesn't need it, but I am gonna add a little bit of glaze, just like a really light brush of glaze on top. There's already so much sugar and butter in this, so truly just adding this for the like shiny effect. But let's see. Oh yeah, that's perfect. Okay, we're doing a little taste test. I think I maybe overbaked it a tiny bit, but it is so good. And I actually like the glaze on the top or the bottom, because then when you get to those bottom pieces, you still have a little bit of like topping, because a lot of this stuff doesn't like really seep down. But this is really good and probably my favorite version of saffron buns that I've made before. Another busy day in the kitchen. I am about to start making a pie. So I developed this milk chocolate and chess pie for Thanksgiving last year at Food 52, and I want to make it again just because it's such a good pie and I don't think it got enough love last year. And I had actually made a pie dough last week, but then that I was going to use for this, but then I froze it and I kind of thawed it, but I just tried to roll it out, and what I ran into is that like the outside butter was thawed but the inside was still really frozen. So if I were to roll it, the butter on the top would like mix too much into the rest of the dough and just the whole thing before the center, if that makes sense. So then the pie crust won't be as flaky. So I'm just gonna make a brand new crust, which is fine, but pie dough is one of my least favorite things to make. At least it'll be pretty easy, because the one that I was gonna use is like my super flaky crust that requires a little bit more effort and a little bit more freezing. But I think I'm just gonna do the pie crust that's in the recipe for the full pie, because it's a little bit easier and doesn't require as much time and doesn't require as many like steps, I guess. It's a really good pie. I'll show you the photo here. I'm excited to make it. And then after, I'm gonna actually make this stew that I made last week. I don't think I filmed it for YouTube, but it's a Swedish stew. It's called kelops. and it's made with pickled beets. I forgot how good and easy it is, so I decided to make it again this week. But I've had the stew meat for, I think today is like the last day I could cook the stew meat, and I don't really want to cook a stew today, but I also really don't want to, I'm not going to throw away the meat. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to cut into the chocolate coconut cake, which I hid last night. I literally hid up there in the cupboard so that Lucas wouldn't see it, because he would have definitely cut into it if I hadn't been like really specific about not cutting into it. But we're gonna get right into the pie dough. It's noon and it's a super rainy day, so what I think I'm gonna do is start the pie, assemble it, and then it has to chill for a while anyway, so then I'll just finish the hero shots and like cut into it tomorrow. I feel like that's gonna be the plan. Okay, this is not recommended, but I really, just like for the sake of time, I don't really feel like doing a lot of chilling, which is kind of like the whole point of a pie dough. So I'm just gonna roll it out right now, and I used ice water and I didn't use my hands too much, so it's not that warm. I'm just gonna roll it out really quickly, and then I'll chill it once I've added it to the actual pie form. Butter is definitely getting a little warm though. Just gotta add a bit more flour if you do this, for sure. And yes, this probably will lead to a slightly less flaky pie crust, but honestly, it's still gonna be really good and whatever. Okay, I'm about to bake the pie, but I'm grabbing my pie weights, aka just my beans. This morning when I was thinking about this recipe, I was worried that the beans didn't make it with the move, but they did. I've had these for probably longer than I should, but I mean, they're literally just dried beans, and all I do with them is bake, like, or use them for pie weights. So I'm happy I have these, otherwise I could have just used like rice or something, but I actually don't have any other dried beans. And I just browned the stew meat, and now I'm caramelizing some carrots and onions for the stew. I really should have more pie weights than I do, or another thing of beans, because ideally it would go up to the top, because what might happen, it might not be like quite heavy enough for the sides not to kind of like puff in a little bit. So for the beef stew, the onions are pretty much caramelized, and I'm gonna add in some of the seasonings. So in a Swedish beef stew, you have, instead of relying on herbs, you basically use spices instead. So you have allspice. Usually you'd use whole allspice, but I couldn't find any at the store the other day, and usually you'd add like, instead of like 10 whole ones, I'm gonna do like half a teaspoon of ground. And then the other really important spice is white pepper. I also couldn't find white pepper in the store, but I did find this mix. So I've been just like kind of sorting it by hand, which is kind of annoying, but worth it. And then I'm gonna add in some red wine. I'm gonna add in the beef stock. I always use better than bouillon. And then I'm gonna add in the beef again, and I would add bay leaf, but I don't have any. And then it's gonna just simmer for 2 hours. I wish I'd started this earlier, because I would love to eat this for lunch, but I think it's gonna be a dinner thing instead, because it's already like 1 p.m. and I'm getting hungry. So for this pie, truly, it's one of my favorites. I use maple syrup, Vermont, obviously, since that's where my parents live. Tony's chocolonely, always my go-to. I have dark chocolate in the cabinet for snacking, and then this for baking. I just got this today. And then heavy cream, butter, and then it's, because it's like a chest pie, there's also cornmeal in it. I'm so confused right now, because a chest pie and a custard pie usually has eggs, and for some reason this recipe Oh my god. I literally just missed it in the recipe. Just kidding. I was gonna say, it's like there's no way this doesn't have eggs in it. This might be the worst pie crust I've ever made. It looks this way, I think, because I didn't chill it, and I don't know, it might still be crispy, but like, I think it looks more like this, more almost like, just in the little cracks, you can kind of tell that it looks more like some of the gluten had developed, and the butter had kind of like sunk into the crust, so don't do what I did. It's also pouring out today, so any hero shots are gonna have to wait till tomorrow. So the pie just came out of the oven. It looks so much better with filling in, which obviously makes sense, but now that it's gotten like a better brown to it, the crust I mean, it looks way better than it did before. Like it looks like a nice crust, and it feels pretty flaky, and this I think turned out really well. I don't want to crack it too much, but I love that almost like crackly top that you get from the sugar. And then I got some flaky sea salt that we're gonna sprinkle this on when we go to serve. And let's go check out the stew. Whoa, it needs to be stirred, that's for sure, but it looks good. So I'm actually really happy that I started this today, because I always forget that custard pies need to set in the fridge for like at least 4 hours. So I'm gonna let this cool down at room temperature, and then I'm gonna put it in the fridge. It's gonna sit in there overnight, and then tomorrow we'll slice it open, and that's kind of it for the day. I've just been editing last week's vlog, and I'm gonna get ready to go to an event soon. I'm really trying to get Lucas to come with me. He's at work, and it's pretty close to his work actually, but I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get him to. Yesterday I went to an event and I went kind of late. It was so fun. It was the Oatly event, but today I'm planning on going to the event like right when it starts, so I can be back home around 8 or so, because I just like, if I have a late night on a weekday, which makes me sound so old, it's so hard to be productive the next day. And it is Friday tomorrow, thank God, but I do like to like wake up, have my coffee, go to the gym, work out, and like start around like 9 or at least like 9:30. And I haven't really been doing that the last few days because I feel like events and stuff like that, and I like to just like, I don't know, I like to be in bed by like 9:30. So I'm gonna do that, and tomorrow I have to make the tart again, I've decided. And oh my god, I should cut into those chocolate squares that I started yesterday. Maybe I'll do that. Or maybe I'll do it tomorrow, we'll see.